Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a great weekend so far. I hadn't talked to you guys since yesterday morning. So sorry I didn't double up my videos like I normally do on the weekend days. But granted, there's not anything crazy to talk about. There's no emergencies. There's nothing threatening really showing up, and that continues to be the case. But we're going to talk about some things because it is very active. It's just not active in a way where we have any kind of threatening scenarios. But there's a lot going on. There's a big time pattern changing cold front that's going to move through here in a couple days from west to east. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about newly named storms in the tropics, which are Peter and Rose here as we're just rolling right through the hurricane alphabet here. Soon we might get to the next alphabet. But right now, nothing's threatening, but there is some things to talk about. So stick with me here. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. Like the video if you like it. If y'all sense any kind of low energy from me today, it's been a wild weekend, a very busy weekend. Nothing bad has happened or anything. I mentioned in my community post that my girls, we kind of thought our girls were sick, but I don't think they really are sick. I think they were just feeling a little under the weather this morning. COVID test came back negative, so that's great news. So thanks for all the prayers, and appreciate all the thoughts. As usual, y'all always are like a family atmosphere on here, so it's much appreciated. Dropped the kids off at choir this morning. This evening, and got a chance to go by Best Buy and talk to some professionals there about some ideas on the new computer. But so here in the next few weeks, as I mentioned in some earlier videos, do expect a new setup. If anybody's got any ideas, that'd be great. I'm not trying to look for some setup that's thousands of dollars. Some of these folks on here on the weather community on YouTube live stream, and then you need a really nice setup for that kind of stuff to get a consistent connective flow there. For me, when we got major events, I don't always plan on being on my computer and talking about for hours on end. That's not really something that I like doing. I have a family, and it's hard to just sit on the computer for hours when you have two little girls in the family. I'm always going to be the person that tries to actually be in it for you guys, like I was with Hurricane Ida. So that's always my goal with that. I would love to live stream in the future. In the future, I probably will. But right now, my setup is not even close to be able to do that in an appealing fashion, if you will. So thank you all for the amazing support regardless. Things are going to get better. I'm on a mission to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I appreciate all the support. So let's get going here. So I want to mention Tropical Tidbits is down. Levi is trying to work on his website. He's having issues today, but it's a free site, and he works his butt off to let everybody use such an awesome free site. So, one off day isn't going to bring us all down. We're going to check out weathernerds.com, which is also an awesome free site. The guy who has this definitely does everybody a big-time service with this. So right here you got Peter. Over here, you got Rose, and then you have a lot of activity over the southeast, and we're going to talk about that. It's going to be active over the next few days in the southeast. Very rainy basically the whole entire early part of the week. It's going to be very active, a lot of tropical downpours, and the risk of flooding is going to be there. And there's just going to be a lot of tropical energy, but not tropical storm or hurricane kind of energy. So going forward here, you got Peter right here. It's a 45-mile-per-hour storm. You got Rose, which just upgraded this here in the last several hours to a 40-mile-per-hour storm. So we're just knocking out names like crazy. You actually have the energy from what was Odette that's fully dissipated, but has a chance to reform, which we kind of thought so. It's kind of getting blocked, if you will, up here in the northern Atlantic from ridging of high pressure. So it's going to try to pivot down and try to redevelop. Then you got this piece of energy right here that could be the next named storm. So we're going to briefly go over that too. We're not going to get too deep on it because there's really no point, because it's not really going to affect many people. This is the path of Tropical Storm Peter, which is the system that was 95L that we've been talking about for what seemed like years. This could deliver some disturbing weather, it's a little bit of disturbances to Bermuda and affect them, but I really don't even think it'll be that bad for them. Nothing that they can't handle. It looks to maintain tropical storm status through the week and doesn't look like it's going to get upgraded any kind of hurricane status here. Then you got Tropical Storm Rose out here, just a 40-mile-per-hour storm. And this will continue to gain northern latitude and really just eventually enter some cooler sea surface temperatures and probably dissipate away and not affect anybody. So that's good news. We're going to touch base on the tropics more here in a second, but let's talk about in between the next couple of days before this big time cold front approaches. So this is the NAM. We're just going to look at this just because it goes further out than the HRRR. Overnight tonight, you have a lot of rain in the Georgia and Alabama area. I will mention if you're in the Carolinas throughout Monday morning into basically the entire day Monday, it is going to be a very rainy day from Atlanta to Columbia, South Carolina, up to Charlotte. Very just dreary, probably highs in the 70s, very humid. It won't be super hot, but it won't be comfortable either due to the high humidity. And there'll be a lot of tropical moisture that's going to be fueling just a nice, I would say nice. I like rainy days. That's why I say nice. But we'll just be fueling a big time rainy day tomorrow, especially if you're in South Carolina into North Carolina and Georgia. This looks to continue through the night tomorrow night, and the main portion of the energy will shift into North Carolina to Tuesday, and there'll be a lot of rain for you guys Tuesday. Then you see this energy coming through overnight Tuesday and Wednesday. This is actually from the cold front. Now we'll shift a little bit further north for you guys in the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast and Ohio Valley. Here's the tropical moisture. A lot of rain, showers, tropical downpours surging from south to north into the Ohio Valley, into the Mid-South and Mid-Atlantic. And so very rainy day, stormy day across the basically Indiana, Ohio, places like that tomorrow. This energy will begin to shift into the Mid-Atlantic more so as we get into Tuesday. And then you see this line of storms. We're going to watch this. We might talk a little bit more about this. This is the cold front. This is the cold front approaching. You notice with it, depending on where the cold front passes through, if it passes through for a more favorable time of the day, then you're going to have a favorable setup for more severe storms. So we have to watch out because this is a pretty stout and distinct and has a stout boundary to it with a cold front. Normally when this is the case, depending on if you have a low pressure riding it, creates a low-level jet almost, and the 850s really get cranking, and you have some shear, and you can have some severe weather, whether you're talking about tornadoes, just straight line wind gust, like a linear kind of setup where you have a line of storms. So we'll watch this. We need to watch this through the, especially through the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania, West Virginia. This could turn to a severe weather kind of setup. But rainy days over the next few days across basically the entire eastern U.S. for sure, as tropical moisture will be surging northward ahead of the cold front. You can really see this with dew points here. I know this is always hard to see on your screen. That's why I'm going to get a better setup for you guys. But here's the boundary where the cold front is setting up. And as we get going through here through Tuesday morning, this thing begins to slide southeast, and that is from the approach of the cold front. Notice dew points in the 70s and 60s ahead of the cold front. But drier air, this is what this is dew points, not temperatures. Dry air begins to clash southeast. By the time you make it to, say, Wednesday afternoon in portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, the entire Ohio Valley, especially the middle areas of the Ohio Valley and the western areas to the Midwest, you're already getting some cooler, dry fall-like air moving through as early as Wednesday afternoon. Then it really starts to move through the rest of the southeast and eastern U.S. This is one of these digging cold fronts where the drier air gets to areas in the southeast before it does the far eastern areas of the northeast. The way this is digging, this is just the way it happens sometimes. But I really think by the time a lot of people wake up Thursday morning, for the majority of the eastern U.S., except areas in Boston, Maine, where the front hasn't quite cleared, this could trend a little faster. But Thursday morning, by the time you get to Thursday morning to Thursday afternoon, everybody in the entire eastern U.S. will be feeling this, and this will be a nice push of cool air that looks to really last for the majority of the next several days. And even when it moderates some, the humidity begins to come back as you get into early next week. It looks like maybe another front comes through and kind of reinforces potentially the drier fall-like air. If y'all hear a little ringing in the background, that's my cat going absolutely wild with some kind of ball and bell down our hallway, so sorry about that. Now we look at the tropics, and there's really no point in getting super detailed with this, to be honest, guys, because there's nothing really threatening out here, but it's worth mentioning. So here we go. We got what's left of Peter that kind of is about to if it's not interacting now, it's going to continue to interact with the Tut that we've been talking about for what seems like an eternity. The Tut will provide shear for what's left of Peter, and I really think it'll shear it away. At the same time, you have Rose that could potentially make the long track, but it's kind of deja vu with a Peter situation. There'll still be a Tut interaction right in here, has a chance to weaken, and with frequent troughs, potentially, it's hard to know this far out. This is over 10 days out. But if troughs keep pushing through the eastern U.S., this is going to recurve kind of what the GFS is showing. But keep in mind, this is pretty far out, so we don't know this yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some runs where Rose gets really close to the eastern U.S. and freaks everybody out. So it's worth watching how Rose can sustain its energy and what happens with it. Look at the euro, kind of the same situation. It doesn't really have Peter really surviving much. It could deliver some nasty weather to Bermuda. And then here comes Rose. Rose trying to, I love that name. Rose is a pretty name, but it has Rose coming up, but then it begins to track north at 10 days out. Bermuda needs to watch out for this pattern. Really do. Y'all have gotten lucky so far. But here goes. At day 10, which is not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, you got Rose creeping in, but it looks like it's starting to turn north, so that would be good news, but pretty far out. Let's let this load for a second. Here we go. So this is the latest European ensembles. You notice here within the next 10 days, you have what's left of Peter. It's heading northwest, and then it just pretty much turns north, and after that might affect the weather in Bermuda, but I really don't think y'all are going to get too bad of weather. Then you have this piece of energy right here, and let me go back here because I might have been talking about the wrong. Yeah, I have been, guys. That's totally my fault, guys. I think I was calling this Rose, but I actually think that this is Rose, which is forecast to weaken, and this is actually what's going to probably be Invest 98L. So that tells you how out of it I am. That's my fault. So this piece of energy right here that has a 50% chance to develop here in the next 5 days is actually that one that might take that long track, which is this one right here. So this is not Rose. So forgive me, guys. My bad. I got the two mixed up. So don't blow up my comments. I told you guys I'm a little out of it. So I'm gonna get my groove back starting tomorrow. But this would actually be 95L and could potentially be the next named storm, which I cannot think of right off the top of my head. But sorry for my unprofessionalism, guys. But I'm just going to keep rolling instead of stopping this video and starting all over. There's no point in all that. But y'all get what I mean. At the end of the day, there's no threatening scenarios right now. And honestly, I don't see anything in the Caribbean. There might be some signs as we get into the first week of October that I'm kind of seeing, but there's not really worth mentioning yet until we actually see it in the models. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all's support, and y'all have a great start to your work week.